Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Renee Smith, and I'm in the Specialist Program for Instructional Technology at Kennesaw State University. I began the program in the summer of 2014. I will graduate the summer of 2015. I did my paper on online record keeping in supervised agriculture experience projects. This is something that is very close to me as I am an agriculture education teacher and believe that all students should complete the three-ring model of agriculture education. The three parts of the model are classroom instruction, where students actually learn about agriculture and agricultural facts, SAE projects, where students will go to their homes and complete a certain number of hours in an agriculture-related field. This is usually related to classroom work they have completed. The third ring is the Future Farmers of America, or FFA, as it is known today. FFA is a way for students to compete in projects that they have worked on throughout the year. It is a great way for students to earn money, scholarships to college, and recognition for the hard work that they do. I would like to talk with you today about how online record keeping is used in my classroom and the perceptions of it from students. The problem: students are not keeping good records in their SAE projects. I wondered how technology could be integrated to increase student accessibility to records. Many of my students complained when we were using a paper record book that they were not able to write down their hours. However, I did not want the record books to leave the classroom, as they would often get lost or messed up, especially if a student has a particularly messy project, such as raising and showing swine or dairy cows or beef cattle. AET, Agriculture Experience Tracker, is a way for students to keep online records for their SAE project. This was created specifically for agriculture education students that need to keep online records. They have also integrated in our projects, so a student that wants to participate in a state degree or state proficiency contest can do so seamlessly. There's no more having to copy their hours from one place to another. Some of the explanations I had for students not keeping good records were their beliefs about technology. If a student does not have a lot of technology at home, oftentimes they believe that they don't need to use it, that it's not important, or that they don't know how. So I feel like having a breakdown of the program into specific lessons will increase student use. Also, continuous data checks, making sure that students are updating their online record books continuously. The purpose of this project was to determine if students prefer using online record keeping systems, in this case the Agriculture Experience Tracker, or AET as I will refer to it, or if they prefer keeping paper records. Research questions. Does online record keeping affect South Georgia High School students' attitudes towards participating in SAE projects? Will actually keeping records online increase participation in SAEs? Does online record keeping increase the number of hours a student in a high school in Southeast Georgia would log compared to a paper document due to the ease and availability? I also wanted to know how students felt about keeping paper records over online record keeping. A couple of definitions. Supervised agriculture experience. This is a real-world application of what students are learning in class. If I have a student for a semester, they are required to turn in 18 hours in their SAE at a minimum. This comes to about an hour a week. Ag Experience Tracker, also known as AET. It's a personalized online system for tracking experiences in agriculture education. It was built for agriculture education and SAE projects. So it has things like portfolio where students can upload their pictures. It keeps documents of their financial records. And it also makes it much easier for teachers to grade. And then online record keeping. Keeping one's activities, financial dealings, ledgers, journals online so that it is available anywhere. In my overview of the literature, I talked about the history of SAE projects. It used to be that federal law actually required SAEs. For the first 50 years of ag education, the federal and state supervisors vigorously enforced this provision of the 1917 Smith-Hughes Vocational Act. The Smith-Hughes Vocational Act actually gave money to start the education programs that we see now. During this time, each agriculture teacher was required to keep detailed records of the experience programs conducted by students. They also had to forward these reports on annually to the state ag education office. For a while after this first 50 years, SAE saw a big decline. They were not required anymore, students weren't really working on them, and then in the 90s, they brought back that you needed to be held accountable as an ag teacher for students doing this. The National FFA organization really revamped their proficiency, which are the awards that you can get. They revamped their program to encourage students to participate outside of the classroom and outside of FFA in ag education. I also talked about some of the reasons for weakness. Why aren't students participating in SAE projects? I actually found research on this by Wilson, and he said it's lack of student motivation across the board. Students are becoming less motivated to do things outside the classroom that they don't see value in. There were limited student opportunities. We're starting to see less students that are actually on the family farm that have a built-in SAE project, and it's hard to find sometimes places for students to work. Lack of teacher time. I know that I found it very important to visit every student's SAE project, but I've worked with other teachers who did no SAE visits. They concentrated more on other things. Poor student record keeping practices, that's another one. If students can't keep up with things, it doesn't matter how much they work. It won't be recorded, and it won't do them any good later on if they don't have accurate records. Some students have inadequate financial resources and facilities. All the time I hear students say they'd love to show an animal, especially swine. When swine shows start happening, students get very excited, but it's expensive. And if you don't have a county like Houston County in Georgia, which every school has a barn, then it's going to be hard for students to have projects. And one that I see a lot of times is low parent interest. I send home the paperwork, I do everything I can to inform the parents, but they just don't seem to get it. The economic value of SAEs hasn't been researched as much as I thought it would, but you need to make sure as an ag teacher that your SAEs and your students' SAEs are balanced. They need to have personal growth value, they need to have learning value, but they also should have some type of economic value. Is this person working for themselves? Are they working for someone else? Do they understand how there is no free labor? That person is putting time in with you, and that is very valuable. So it's always best to know, especially in our entrepreneurship projects, what your money is going to, where it's going to, and how that is building up the local economy or the state economy. One other thing I talked about in the overview of literature were online tools. Students in agriculture education classes that have chosen to use the Agriculture Experience Tracker, AET, are able to maintain e-portfolios through the site. This is built specifically for SAE projects because it allows them to log hours in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in their SAE activities. They've also worked with the National FFA organization to make it a very seamless process for filling out different awards and record books and degrees. A student that gets their American FFA degree has been keeping records for a minimum of 6 years. So their 9th grade through probably their 2nd year of college. That's a lot of hours and pictures to keep up with when you have to get a cumulative 10,000 hours. This could be part hours, and there's a mathematical formula for the money, but 10,000 hours is a lot. My methodology. This was an intrinsic case study, although I really conducted it more as a scientific method approach. Students that participated were from a single high school in rural southeast Georgia. The high school is Title I. All students receive free lunch. The ages range from 14 to 19 years old, and they are in grades 9th through 12th. These students are ones that I've had in class. Um, 3 of them have taken paper records, so they have seen the difference. 2 of them are 9th graders, and they just have taken online records. So it was good to kind of see how this would affect students' perceptions. I had students that were African American, I had students that were male, and students that were female. I also had students that were labeled as Caucasian. The interviews were conducted during the month of February. 5 total interviews were conducted. I recorded these on my iPhone so that I could code them later. The interview questions that I asked: what grade are you currently in? Are you currently or have you ever been enrolled in an agriculture education course? They had to name the courses they had taken. There is a big difference between perceptions, I feel like, in a 9th grade student and a 12th grade student. 9th grade students are taking their first ag class, so everything is new to them. It may be confusing because it is new. And 12th grade students that may have taken 3, 4, 5 agriculture classes over the course of their high school career who have seen this over and over again. I asked them about their supervised experience project area. Entrepreneurship is they own their own business. Placement means they work for someone else. This could be a parent, it could be at a place like Tractor Supply or a feed store, or they could have an agri-science fair project. This is similar to science fair but is on an ag-based topic. I asked how many hours they spend each semester on their SAE project. Students that are trying to get degrees through FFA or prepare themselves for proficiency awards will have more hours than other students usually. Number 5, which of the following electronic devices do you own? Do you have internet access at your home? How often do you log your SAE hours? How do you prefer to keep daily records of SAE hours? How do you prefer to keep records from year to year of your SAE hours? And then I asked them to rate the ease of logging hours into AET on a scale of 1 to 10. Coding. The audio of each interview was recorded to ensure I would be able to transcribe the interviews at a later time. This was done via my iPhone. I did not take any pictures of the students to keep their identities safe. The areas of technology-related feelings were highlighted in yellow on the transcriptions, and the areas of available technology were highlighted in blue. This made for ease when I was going over my data to see, okay, what are their feelings towards technology, and is this because they don't have any technology? The results. Data showed that students prefer managing their record keeping online. This is something that I had hypothesized. Students prefer electronic calendars versus paper. I did ask if they would rather keep a paper calendar or if they would rather keep records online. And while I do prefer a paper calendar on my desk for students to see, I too also like online record keeping and understood that. Implications. After completing this study, I plan to work with students on using AET on a regular basis for day-to-day record keeping. This will include lessons, small reminders about how to use things on AET. I would also like to work with our other ag teachers in the school, there are 2 of them, to promote student use so that it's very seamless. If a student takes forestry with me and then horticulture with another teacher, they feel like they can use the same things on AET, and it's very seamless. We don't have one doing paper and one doing AET. I also want to work with other agriculture teachers in the school to increase use through grading procedures. Grading in AET is very easy, but you have to know how to do it. If you're not sure how to use AET for grading, then you'll end up going back in and trying to hand grade each student, and you don't have to do that. AET will pull all the data that you need to put the grades in. I thought this project was very useful for current and future agriculture education teachers. My case study proves students do prefer using online record keeping in SAE projects. I think that if more people thought the way students do, very technologically advanced, always wanting to be on their phones. They would see the value of record keeping online. I would say some of my limitations were time and the number of students I interviewed. I really wish that my project hadn't changed so much from um, our our first class, the 8,000 class, to the 8,900 class, because that would have given me more time to really interview students with what I had. Being as it may, I would love to go back in and survey all of the students. And that's what I chose as my, if I could change something on the project, it would be the number of students interviewed. I would love to survey my entire classes to make sure that it's a consensus throughout everyone that they really do like online record keeping. I really will use this in my class as well. I've been kind of throwing the ball back and forth whether I wanted to keep paying for AET or if we wanted to go back to just regular record keeping. But this has been such a good experience. I will choose to keep AET in the classroom because of the research that I did. Thank you for joining me today for my capstone presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something from it. If you'd like to contact me, feel free to do so through my Weebly website. Thank you.